Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Ashley Swanson from BoosterDesigns.com, and today I want to talk through icons because I really believe that icons are something that can make or break your site, and it's something that you use it when done well. They can make things look really, really great, and when done poorly, your site can look super generic and super amateurish. And so I want to help give a couple tips here that I think can take them from just being kind of boring and bland to really accenting and accentuating and helping your site a lot more. Now, all these tips I've covered in a blog post that I send out in my monthly newsletter, and you can sign up for that in the link below here. Yeah, so sign up for that, and I would love it to stay in touch and stay connected with you here. So here's a few different icons here. And I've got these from the Noun Project, which is an icon library that you can sign up for $39 a year. It's like the best money that I ever spend in a year because it's super, super helpful. There's over 2 million different icons there. And this will allow you to get away from the Font Awesome library or whatever it is that if you're using a page builder, the ones that are already baked in. This allows you a lot more variation and a lot more different options that are out there. And so make a purchase for something like this. There's a lot of different options, but I think this is really helpful for web design. It gives you a lot of different options that make things just essentially look better at the end of the day. So here's some different things that we can do. I just randomly pulled these ones, and I think these look good in and of themselves. And now just basic icons, there's a place for them, but there are also times where I think that we can jazz them up a little bit and make them look a little bit nicer. And so here's some different options for what we could do here. So this one, a lot of times what I do when I'm using maybe like a line art like this, I will try and find a way to just bring in some accent color if possible. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab this frame and I'm going to remove it from that group here. Then I'm working in Illustrator in case you're wondering. I'm going to add it there. So now I have two separate options here. I've got this group and I've got this group. This group I'm going to go ahead and give it this green color. And this group I'm going to go ahead and give it my brand purple. So already now we've already got something I think just looks a little bit better. It's a little more visually interesting. Now again, there are times where just a solid color is totally fine and it works really well for a site. But there are also times where you want to introduce more colors just to keep things a little more fresh and a little interesting. And this is a great way of doing that. Another one here, something that I try to do is when occasionally when you see different, I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. When you see different shapes within an icon, that can sometimes be a good opportunity to try and introduce a little bit of color inside those shapes. So again, none of this is like too revolutionary. What I'm basically doing is these are like the go-to things that I do whenever I'm trying to make my icons look a little more interesting. I go through these different steps. So I'm going to highlight each of these vector points here. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste that on top, and now we see that it's black. And let's see if this actually works well for me. Let's just randomly I'm going to repaste that. There we go. So now we've got that. Let's go ahead and add it up here and see if this works too. And then let's go ahead and drop that in there. Actually, let's see what it looks like when it's purple. Yeah, so there's another option of something that you can do just as a simple way to introduce some different color to it. And then let's go ahead and take a look at this leaf. Now this leaf is solid, but again, there are different things that we can do to just give a little more accent to it, introduce some more colors, and just make it seem like they're custom rather than something that you pulled from a library like I did. So what I'll do, another trick that I often do is I'll decrease the size. This is also a great trick when you if your icon looks bad, because icons aren't meant to be for all different sizes. A lot of icons actually work really well in like a 40 to 60, 40 to 70 pixel range, maybe even down to 30. And so when we blow them up, they actually look kind of dumb. And so one solution for that is you actually can put a background color behind it, and then center this up in there. And you could either make this, like a white color. That looks super generic. I actually don't like that at all. So what I'm going to do is do this. So put that there. I'm going to reduce the size of this a little bit. And then let's decrease the opacity here. Now, this isn't always recommended to just decrease the opacity. That's what I'm going to do here. It's a trick. Quick one. But now that looks good. It looks a little bit more custom, and it also allows the leaf to be more at a size that's appropriate and that the designer probably intended it for. So those are just a few quick tips on how to make that happen working inside of Illustrator. And you can do the same thing in Sketch and Figma, any of these. And again, this is nothing too earth-shattering. It's nothing crazy. But these are just, again, they're go-to things that you can go to when you're working on icons, trying to make them look a little more interesting. Here are just a few different things to do. Also, a couple other things that I covered in the post that I didn't talk about here. The first thing is when you're working with icons, and maybe if you're using a page builder like Webflow or Elementor or Divi or any of the major ones that are out there, try to not lean too much on the library that comes with the page builder. A lot of those are just going to be generic, and they're going to be overused, and you're not able to do a whole lot with them. So again, if you want to increase the size, at some point in time they look really dumb, and you don't have the option sometimes to put a background behind it. And again, more than anything, they're just overused, and you'll force a specific icon to something that doesn't really relate to the content because you didn't have any other options, and that's just a poor decision. So I encourage people to spend a little bit of money on some sort of larger library where you have a lot more resources and a lot more options to choose from, so that you can have some different options, and again, just some different things that you can pull from. A couple other tips here. I'm going to move this out of the screen here. Is to be consistent. So especially if you're using line art, make sure that all of the border widths are the same, rather than being different weights. So here's something that I would see maybe somewhat frequently is let's try this one. I'm gonna make this black just as an example here. So if you're pulling from different libraries, sometimes then your colors, whoever the artist was that designed it has different weights, and so they might look like this, where one is a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker line, and the other one is thinner. And instead of just rolling with it, like drop it in a program here, and there are different things that you can do to make sure that the border widths are accurate. One quick one that I go to is as you can probably see here me doing is I just add a stroke to it, and that's one way of oftentimes either reducing or increasing a border's width. So you do it the same color, or you can do it with like a white, but then you have to remove that if you're using like a background color. So let me show you an example here in using Illustrator. So now we've got a very thin border here, but what we have to do now is we have to expand this to get rid of this outline, and then use the option of Shift M in Illustrator on a Mac, and that can allow us to get rid of this. And now our line is actually smaller, if that makes sense. The border is smaller and would work well on top of a background image or solid background color, and you're not going to see that white border. But at the same time, we have a thinner border at the same time. So that's one quick way of working with that. Some other tips here then, make sure all your icons are the same size. So if you're using them at 60 pixels on one spot of your site, try and make them all 60 pixels. 60 pixel wide or 60 pixel high, however you're doing that. But just, be consistent throughout your site and the different ways that you're using it. And then if you can, use SVG. SVG is going to be a vector-based icon, and so it's going to always look crisp, and it's not going to get pixelated and look like trash on high-res screens. So there are a few tips. If you want to keep in touch and keep up to date with all my tips, go ahead and sign up for my newsletter at boosterdesigns.com. As always, you can shoot me an email if you have any questions at hello@boosterdesigns.com, and I respond to each and every one of those and really, really love getting them.